Okay, welcome to another game by Anatoly Karpov. This is the game between Karpov and Alexei Shirov, which was played in Biel in 1992. I think this was the very first serious game that the two very famous players, have played. Karpov, very strategic, very solid player, super champion. Shirov, emerging young player, super tactical. He is famous for his Tal-like sacrifices and very risky continuations. So two very different styles. And it reminds us a little bit the clashes between Kasparov and Karpov, very different styles in this way. But Shirov is even probably wilder than Kasparov, although he has a very bad score against Kasparov in his career. So I would like to show you this game because in this game we see at one stage we see a position which is very unusual in the sense that Karpov chooses to continue the game in a very unusual way, which happened several times in Karpov style, but it's a quite unusual way to weaken a certain color complex. So let's have a look at the game. So we'll not spend much time on the opening stage because the opening is quite complex. It's called the semi-Slav. So let's continue with the game. So this is the semi-Slav variation, and everything is very standard here. And so b5, bishop e2. Now this is quite standard way to play for black. Now here usually black plays e6, or it plays bishop b7, or even queen e7, and so on. People usually don't play immediately e5, which would be desirable to attack the center because of the continuation knight e4, knight takes, queen, and now this pawn is a little bit weak, and so black has to defend it, then back. So this continuation is not so bad for black, but it doesn't promise anything. And then here there is the critical move, let's say f4, with which white obtains let's say a good position, not a strong advantage, but a good position, because there are no defenders on the king side. Black has no defenders, and this pawn can create a formation e4, f4, can advance, so black is a little bit behind with development, so this h-pawn can be destroyed by this bishop at one stage, so the situation is not so simple for black. That's why e5 is not played immediately. So Shirov played an interesting novelty at the time, which was played a couple of days before by his countryman Alexander Shabalov. They're both from Latvia. Rook e8. So this move, it's a kind of waiting move, useful move, which prepares, of course, e5. And so white basically black is asking to white, okay, what are you doing? What is your plan? Okay, and Karpov played a very good move. He played a good move, rook d1. This rook d1 move maybe wouldn't be the first move that comes to mind here. I don't know. It's possible that this move knight e4, or I don't know, b3 comes to mind first. Okay, so rook d1. Oops, sorry. So we said rook d1 because obviously if you play e5 now, it's a losing move because you see you cannot play with the knight, since there is basically 95, and knight b5, cb5, and this. Okay, so attacking this twice, and also this rook, so it's disaster for black. Okay, so basically black has to defend this bishop with queen c7, very natural move, very good move, and b3. So obviously this diagonal is blocked for the white bishop, so b3, and to fianchetto the bishop and hammer, and hammer. Let's see if I manage to draw arrow. Okay, yes, hammer this g7 point, possibly in the future. So black has to react, and he pushes e5. Okay, this e5, and e5 is a good move because basically opening up the position, opening up the center. White is aiming at this pawn here, so basically h3. So you don't change immediately, otherwise too many exchanges will favor black, who has, well, not a cramped position, but still has to develop his pieces. So if you make many exchanges, you ease your opponent development. So h3 and bishop b7. So bishop b2 and a6. So basically this is more or less the position I wanted to discuss. Basically the opening is almost over, and both opponents have bishops that point to basically their enemy kings. So white has to do make two moves to do that, but sooner or later this will happen. And so yeah, black is almost broke the center, white's center, and so white has to take here, and now here, this is the critical move. Oops, sorry. This is the critical move. a4. Why is this move? Because black is threatening to move c5 here. Okay. If you move c5, he opens the bishop, everything is absolutely fine for black. So this kind of a4 move, is a kind of prophylactic move, because of course now c5 takes, and takes. So it's quite obvious, of course. So it prevents c5, so it prevents also the development of this bishop. So Shirov just developed the pieces. If instead of putting the rook there, if Shirov plays b4, then obviously the knight can go to b1, and then it can reroute to c4, where it will have a fantastic square which cannot be attacked. Then if after a4 black tries knight f3, bishop takes f3, check first, then bishop e5, then this move knight e2, takes, c5, so black managed to free himself like this. So this is let's say the best way for black to free himself, and queen e5. So white still has some kind of advantage, but it's I don't think it's so serious here. Actually black can play rook d5, and what to do here? Well, either rook f4 or rook c3, maybe rook f4, and Luft for black, and knight f5 here, Now a little trick, knight e4. If white takes, then there is winning of the queen, and so on. So basically, and after a4, knight f3. Knight f3 was probably black's safest way to continue with this continuation. Like basically exchanging all the pieces, going into a slightly inferior position, but nothing extremely serious. There is also 2 pawns versus 1, which could be useful. So the position is very balanced. So after a4, black decided to keep pieces on the board. Obviously, Shirov is a very combative player. So rook a d8. And now the important move, knight g5. Obviously the knight wants to reroute to e4, where he will exchange the best defender of black's king side. So queen e7 takes. Okay, so now this bishop here, is not very well placed, because now it is attacked, and black doesn't want to lose the bishop pair, so the bishop must move. But if it moves there, then knight c5, very good outpost for the knight. So basically Shirov decided to put it there in b4. Now in b4, this bishop is loose, it's not defended. Okay, now it's defended by the queen, but the queen can easily become overloaded. And so the way Karpov tried to make the queen overloaded is by playing knight g3, obviously with the intention of playing knight f5, overloading the queen, and trying to use this trick, queen e4, attacking both the knight and the bishop at some stage, not immediately, of course. So difficult decision here. For example, if black plays in this situation queen e6, then we have exchange of rooks, then we have queen e4, and here this knight is attacked, this is attacked, so there is only one move, bishop d6, and then rook d1, obviously threatening to take the bishop with the rook and then collecting the knight. So knight g6, and then bishop g7. So there is at this stage there is tactical possibilities here. So what is the point of this bishop g7? So for example, if I take the queen, take the knight, and you see, taking this and capturing the bishop, so the bishop has to go back, and so white wins a good pawn, basically, and is a strong advantage because of this bishop that doesn't play. And what if, for example, so we said queen, what if, let's say, so in this situation he plays g6. g6 also is quite a reasonable move. Rook takes, queen takes, rook d1, queen e7, e4, f5. Here there is some tactical trick though. Queen f4, bishop d6, queen h6, and so bishop here, bishop here, bishop here. So there is quite some tactical trick based on knight takes f5. And so after g6, this move, actually I think, if I not mistaken, white can immediately take this. The king is quite spoiled, completely naked, although this is probably very defensible for black. So basically what black decided to do And this is the position actually I wanted to discuss. What black decided to do was this, f6. This seems to be a very reasonable move because it stops completely this bishop, okay? And it prevents all these kind of tricks based on, you know, the queen coming here and, oops, sorry, the queen coming here on e4, attacking this and this, and so these two loose, pieces, okay? So, but the next decision taken by Karpov is amazing. It's amazing because I think only he could take this decision here, and it's absolutely correct. So here there are several ways to have the advantage. For example, there is h4, because now that these two pawns, this pawn has advanced, these two pawns are weak, then probably advancing here it's quite advantageous for white. Or there is the more standard, let's say, knight f5. So, for example, after queen f7, we can have things like f4, knight g6, and yeah, white has a good advantage. This knight is well located. This pawn is a bit weak, but it's easily defendable. And I'm not sure how one can defend it. Maybe this way. Actually, no, there is c5, so this would be a mistake. Maybe then bishop c3. Exchanging here. Does it make sense? Not much. White has a good position, so exchanging. We are left with the bishop here, which is quite bad with considering this. So basically exchanging. We just put the bishop on f3 and putting pressure on c6, so it's not good. Yeah, so this position is quite dreadful. And so after f6, Karpov made an excellent decision, okay? So we said that also knight f5 is good, but this decision is fantastic because it shows an understanding of the position that is stunning. And Karpov repeated this kind of idea against Kasparov, although in a much more complicated way, and years before this game. So that game is called the White Square Symphony. So basically, with this move, with f7, f6, it's true that blacks defended the dark square, but it weakens the white squares, the light squares. Okay. So we know that in order to now weaken even more the light square, I have to exchange my dark square bishop for a knight. In this way, I weaken the light square because this knight is defending this square. For example, this square, this square. So next decision is take this, okay, and queen takes. So what happens when after this exchange? This exchange seems to be quite illogical because white gives up the bishop pair, and how to continue with black with white here. But you have to consider this bishop is not playing. This bishop is not playing because it doesn't have any target on the dark square at the moment. Okay, so and the light squares around the bishop are let's say, sorry, the white squares around the king are weakened. So we immediately put pressure on this square here. So h6. Now notice that g6 is not good because we just sacrifice, of course. Take this. Now we have to play precisely queen and knight. And so here, obviously, if black tries to defend the mate, there is knight f6 and everything is over. But so the best way is f5 and then queen g6 and then king f8 and then this. Okay, and this is white has an overwhelming advantage. So he has to play h6 instead of g6. He has to play h6. Okay, so now. The next stage is to plant a bishop in the light square. But where? Here? Giving check first or here? So in his notes, Karpov considered also the move bishop h7, but he felt that actually the king was better on g8. There were more tactical possibilities, although he wasn't sure. And obviously, if the pawn is in f7, is still on f7, then bishop h7 makes more sense, because by forcing the black king to go to h8, the f7 pawn is weakened. So when in these situations, probably makes more sense, okay, it depends on the particular situation, but makes more sense to put the bishop on g6 directly rather than checking, because there is no pawn on f7. So Karpov intuitively thought the same, so the rook shifts, and then we play on the light squares. And now, too late, black tries to free himself. Now, by freeing himself, this bishop is not playing. This bishop starts to play, but now too late, because by exchanging, okay, now, white wants to kill this bishop. Okay, this bishop is the only source of counterplay that black can have, and so we want to kill the bishop completely. And so rook a7, not yet, so the most convenient moment, of course, and knight h4. Now, obviously threatening things like bishop h7, knight g6, with complete disaster for black. So black has to change the rook, because to give check, because otherwise this pawn is immediately losing for him. And so he managed to divert temporarily the queen, but now rook a8, and of course black doesn't take the rook. Black just play queen g4, eyeing this square e6, and if now indeed this, then we have this, and then we have, for example, well, here we have this and mate, and this and mate. So of course black cannot take the rook, and he plays queen c6, obviously threatening mate, but white just takes this. Okay, e7, and then back to e6. Oops, something incredible is happening here. So we said e6, then rook king h8, and then bishop e4. Winning material, but actually, so basically Shirov resigned here, but winning material because white is threatening this and the queen. And so knight g6 check and the queen. But if he plays queen a6, there is a nice mate. Sorry, this is the different one. So queen e5, king h8, this. So kind of smothered mate, but without the pawn in h7. So yeah, okay. What is the beauty of this game? The beauty of this game is in this position here, when black played f6. The beauty of this game is the concept of exchanging the dark square bishop for a knight in order to attack the light squares. Okay, so we sacrifice, in a sense, the little exchange, as it is called, so the difference in value between the bishop and the knight. We sacrifice the little exchange in order to kill one good piece or one good defender of some squares that have been weakened previously, of course. The squares must have been weakened, otherwise this exchange wouldn't make any sense. So without f6, this exchange wouldn't make sense, of course. So after this happened, white continued pressuring all the white squares around the king until the pressure was too much. And another important intelligent thing is to kill the bishop that could defend the white squares. Now notice here that when we exchange this bishop here, this bishop is not playing. If this bishop were located here, then it would be a different story. Or if it was free to move, then it would have been a different story. So white must do everything in his power to try to not make this bishop play. Okay, so this is the way. And so after some tactical things, white wins in a very effective way. Now, if you analyze this game with computers, with engines, the engine doesn't understand very much this game. It's too deep for it. So the engines have some difficulties in finding that this exchange after f6, exchanging the bishop for the knight is a really good move. Maybe it's the third or fourth line. They all suggest things like h4 or knight f5, which are good. But the line chosen by Karpov is absolutely the best because it finishes the game quicker, faster. Okay, and so this game shows another amazing, genius move by Anatoly Karpov, and again the attack on the color complex that results from an exchange bishop versus knight. Thank you very much for following.